Once you've taken the SAT, that's all you actually need to do apart from fill out the application. I say this repeatedly throughout this course and throughout this screen recording, but I'm not here and I can't because I'm just not qualified to tell you the best way to respond to the questions it's asking you. I'm just here to point out any differences between the UK and the US, and there are quite a lot of them. There's loads of resources which I'm going to talk about at the end of the course that gives you the best shot at putting your best foot forward. So without further ado, let's jump into the computer. Okay, so we are completely off script here, but here we are on the Common Apps homepage. Hit sign in. Again, first year students. Okay, so I'm going to sign in. Obviously, I've blurred my details, but we'll hit sign in. Like I said, this video in particular is going to be about the Common Apps section, so we're going to click that now. And we're going to run through everything you need to understand about each of the questions. First, we got the profile section. And it's going to ask you for your first name, and then if you want to be referred to as a different name, like my legal name is Samuel, but you know me as Sam. My middle name, my last name, if you've got a suffix, and then your birthday. That is completely self-explanatory. Your address, obviously I've blurred that, but you just fill it in as a UK address, and if you've got an alternate or temporary address, you just select that and add it. It's simple. The next section is contact details. Again, I've had to blur my phone number, etc., but you're just filling it in as you would. Make sure that on the country code you refer to it as +44 and omit the O from the start of a UK phone number. On the demographics tab, they're just trying to learn a bit about your gender, your pronouns, if you've ever served in the US Armed Forces, which all of us won't have, and then just a few other questions with regards to your identity. Now, if you're European, and you don't speak English as your first language, you need to make sure that you clarify how well you understand the language. Some of this I've not blurred because it's blatantly obvious that I'm from Liverpool based on the voice. We got United Kingdom, and your citizenship status is obviously going to be a citizen of a non-US country, the United Kingdom, as you can see. You don't currently hold a US visa, and you are obviously going to intend to apply for a new or different US visa. The type you're probably going to be applying for is an F1 student visa. I'd advise visiting the link in the description, which is the US government's website, with regard to student visas. The second tab on the Common App is the family section, where it asks details about your family. Something that I do want to bring to your attention is when it says education level, you need to remember that high school in America means the end of year 12. If your parents don't have A levels, they have some high or secondary school education. And then my dad, because he doesn't have GCSEs in America, he doesn't have any high school education, so he just completed grade or primary school. The education section is where things start to get potentially more confusing as an international student. Due to the nature of schooling in the United Kingdom, the years you would have spent in high school in America will often be split between a school and a college, because high school in America is year 10, 11, 12, and 13. If you went to a school and stayed on a sixth form, you can put the date of entry as the first day of year 7. But if you didn't, you'll have to select that you went to different schools, and you'll have to explain why that is the case. That is all in the next tab, other secondary or high schools. If you've taken a gap year like I have, you get to select no change in progression and did or will take a gap year, because although I took a gap year, I wasn't delayed a year in school and I didn't go forward a year in school. So I'd advise selecting both of these. If you've been to another secondary or high school, or your sixth form wasn't attached to your high school, you've got to select one, or however many it is, and then give details about why. In this box, don't write anything too waffly. Literally just say sixth form was not attached to my high school. The admissions officers at these universities are elite level, and they understand exactly how it works. You don't have to explain how sixth form and school aren't attached. They know. If you've taken coursework at a university, you need to indicate the number of universities you have. But for most of us, if not all of us, the answer in England is 0. This is where it'll get more confusing. The graduating class size is with reference to how many people there are in your school year at your school. No schools in the UK report class rank, as far as I'm aware. As you can see, I've clicked none, and the graduating class size is an approximate. The GPA scale reporting, this stands for grade point average. Again, we don't have any of this because the way we get our grades in the UK is drastically different to the way they're attained in the US. They get grades from teachers, not from external exam boards like we do here. You just need to leave it as I've done. None, ignore this box, and don't click in the weighted or unweighted section. In the next section, current or most recent year's courses, you're going to list the courses you take in this academic year. The scheduling system in a United Kingdom school is a trimester. You've got 3 separate terms. As you can see, under the subject, you choose it, you type the name of the course, and you actually have an option for AS, A-level, or international A-levels. If you've won any medals, if you've won any competitions, you need to fill in the honours section. Most state school students like myself will not have been given the opportunity to compete in these competitions and win these honours. Although technically we are a community-based organisation, you have not had any help from any of the American community-based organisations. Leave that blank. For career interest, you can select anything that you would like to do. I selected other and gave a slightly left field answer, and selected PhD because I want to get a PhD in chemistry. Just be honest, and if you can select other and give something unique in this box, that could be to your advantage. We get to testing now, and it's asking you about the SAT and the ACT. Now, as I said, the SAT is more in line with the UK schooling system in terms of the content it covers in both maths and English. But if you've taken the ACT as well, you can choose to report both. I'm only reporting the SAT. You can see here where it says Duolingo English test. If you're an international student from a country that doesn't speak English as its first language, you might be required to submit this. Now, importantly, if you see here, international applicants is in bold because it's asking if your education system is based on standard leaving examinations. In the UK, yes, it is. Everyone sits the same exam in the whole country and the grades are determined on that. Have you taken the SAT essay? If you're watching this video, the answer is no, because they scrapped it before this was made. The highest evidence-based reading and writing and the highest math score can be from different exams. If in October I got a 720 and an 800, but then in, let's say, December I resat it and got a lower math score but a higher English, I can report the highest in both from any test that we want. For me, both of my highest were on the same test. The final tab here is senior secondary leaving examinations. As you can see, it says the number of senior leaving examinations you have already taken. If you're in year 12 applying, the answer to this is 0. But because I took a gap year, and some of you will have as well, you will have taken your A-levels already. Just indicate that you took them in the June and the grades that you got. The next section, activities, is very, very important. As I said, extracurricular activities hold the same weight as your academics do to American universities. As you can see, my number one activity is the Sam Ellis Academy that you're watching this video on, but you need to understand that you've got to be creative in these boxes. Like I keep saying, this is not an admissions masterclass, but I'm just going to say you've got to sit in an admissions reader's shoes. If you've indicated you want to study chemistry and all of your activities are sports and random volunteering that isn't meaningful towards that subject, then although they're impressive, then they're not really worth putting there. Of course, you're going to include things that are impressive on their own. I was a swimmer and I went to the Olympic trials and won national medals. That is an impressive achievement and it tells them more about you. But you've got to remember what the purpose of this application is. You're applying to be a student. You're not applying to be a volunteer or a waiter. Make sure the hours you spend in a week actually don't exceed the amount of hours in a week. It sounds insane, but some people will do it. Next, we're here on the writing section. And as I said, this is essentially the most important part of the application. You've got to respond to one of these prompts that the Common App gives you, but don't be thrown off by the prompt. Imagine you're at an interview for a job. They read your grades, they read your letters of recommendation, and then they ask you one question. What do you want us to know apart from the grades? That's exactly what this question is. What do you want the readers of your application to know about you apart from courses, grades, and test scores? The point I'm actually getting at here is, look, don't write about missing a game of football because you had a broken toe. Don't write about changing the tire in the rain unless you can relate it to something that's actually new, interesting, and not completely cliche. You've got to think about how many people are applying to these schools, and to give yourself the best chance, you need to be unique. Now, you've got to be careful here because everyone was affected in a bad way by COVID-19. But if something happened to you that was exceptionally bad, then report on it. But if it is just the typical, weren't able to see friends and weren't able to partake in activities that you typically would, you don't need to bore the admissions reader with that information. They already know. If one of your universities requires you to list your courses and grades, then do so, and it's very intuitive. It's the exact same as what you reported before, pretty much, and as you can see, I've just got chemistry, maths, and physics, and the grades that I achieved. For GCSEs, you're going to need to report them as well. They go in the 10th grade section. In the 9th grade box, there's no grades. And in the 11th grade box, there's also no grades. All right, so that's the Common App section done. In the next part, we're going to move on to the other areas of the application.